Imagine a region so vast that it could swallow Texas, California, and Montana all at once and still have room to spare. A land where the government doesn't merely collect your taxes, but actually pays you to live there. Welcome to Alaska, the richest, most resource-abundant, yet simultaneously most desolate frontier on the planet. So why does this land, with its rivers of oil and endless veins of gold, remain almost entirely empty? The answer lies deep within a physical geography that challenges everything you thought you knew about survival. Welcome to GeoAtlas. We often think of the United States as a single, contiguous landmass, yet far to the northwest lies a massive, extraordinary region operating on an entirely different scale. Alaska is a place where mind-boggling contradictions reign supreme. With massive oil reserves flowing beneath its surface and ancient forests stretching toward an infinite horizon, it is a realm of riches that defies the imagination. It is perhaps the only place in America that treats its residents like shareholders, distributing an annual permanent fund dividend check simply because they have chosen to make this wilderness their home. Yet, despite being a treasure trove of energy and minerals, it remains one of the most sparsely populated regions on Earth. Much of its vast interior consists of a silent void, untouched by roads or cities. To understand why this colossal region remains so empty, we must look beyond the maps and dive deep into its physical geography, a landscape as defined by its brutality as it is by its beauty. As you set out to explore the hidden workings of the final frontier, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. What would you say if I told you that in one corner of America, the sun sets in November and does not rise again for a full 2 months? Imagine a place so vast that it makes even Texas look tiny, and despite this, possesses fewer roads than one of the Union's smallest states. This is not a scene from a post-apocalyptic movie. It is the daily reality of the Alaskan frontier, where the very ground beneath your feet seems eager to swallow up your home. To truly grasp the mystery of Alaska, you must first comprehend its almost inconceivable scale. With a surface area exceeding 580,000 square miles, Alaska is a geographic giant more than twice the size of Texas. If you were to superimpose Alaska onto the continental United States, you would see it stretching from the Pacific shores of California all the way to the Atlantic coast of Florida. However, this is not merely a piece of interesting trivia. It is also a fundamental logistical nightmare. This colossal scale creates distances that are impossible to manage. The major hubs, Anchorage, Fairbanks, and Juneau, are separated from one another not by suburbs, but by hundreds of miles of wild, untouched wilderness. Consequently, establishing connectivity within the state poses an immense challenge. Believe it or not, Alaska possesses even fewer public roads than Vermont, a state less than 1/70th its size. Although the iconic Alaska Highway serves as a vital lifeline, it provides access to only a minuscule fraction of the state's territory. For most Alaskans, the highway is, in reality, the sky. Here, small bush planes serve as the equivalent of family cars, while the pilots who navigate dangerous mountain passes and unpredictable weather conditions are regarded as local legends. This absolute reliance on air and sea routes results in everything from a gallon of milk to emergency medical care being astronomically expensive. It is a state of isolation that is truly difficult for much of the rest of the world to even imagine. Yet, this sheer scale is merely the beginning of the story. The true challenge lies hidden within a terrain defined by extremes of landscape that actively resists human settlement. Alaska is dominated by the continent's most majestic mountain ranges. The Alaska Ranger, assembling a colossal arch of rock and ice, crowned by the breathtaking summit of Denali. It's North America's highest point slices right through the state's interior. These are not merely scenic backdrops. They function simultaneously as colossal weather machines that trap cold air and block moisture, and as insurmountable barriers that transform travel into a monumental struggle. When the terrain does not rise in the form of jagged peaks, it is often entirely frozen. Much of northern and western Alaska consists of tundra underlain by permafrost, a layer of soil and gravel that remains frozen year-round. Building here is akin to constructing a home atop a block of ice that is constantly attempting to melt. Foundations must be specially engineered to prevent them from sinking into the ground. Meanwhile, roads contort into twisted shapes as the shifting earth causes trees to lean at wild angles, a phenomenon locals have dubbed drunken forests. Finally, there is the sky. Alaska's climate is defined by two forces, cold and darkness. In Fairbanks, temperatures regularly plummet to levels as low as -40 degrees Fahrenheit. In Utkavik, the northernmost town in the United States, the sun sets in November and does not rise again for more than 60 days. Whether it is the soul-crushing polar night or the disruptive midnight sun of the summer months, living here places an unceasing burden upon the human spirit. This situation prompts one to wonder, who were the first people to gaze upon this hostile, rugged landscape and decide to make it their home? What if the greatest engineers of the ancient world, instead of building pyramids, had been striving to survive in a place where the very air itself could freeze your lungs? Long before this land acquired the name Alaska, it was the domain of master inventors who transformed a frozen wasteland into a thriving, vibrant home, until, through a treaty, the global public dismissed as a colossal joke. It was sold off for a mere 2 cents an acre. Long before any map marked this region as Alaska, it was a sophisticated and flourishing homeland. Its first peoples, the ancestors of the Inupiat, Yupik, Aleut, Athabaskan, Tlingit, and Haida, were not merely struggling to survive. They reigned supreme as masters of extreme conditions. Over thousands of years, they cultivated an awe-inspiring understanding of the North and developed engineering technologies that rivaled the innovations of Europe. It was they who designed and crafted the skin-covered umak boats used to hunt whales in the treacherous Arctic waters, the toggle-head harpoons that revolutionized the hunt, and specialized snow goggles to prevent the blindness caused by the blinding glare of spring ice. Their small and dispersed populations were not a sign of failure, but rather the hallmark of an ingenious design, one that sought harmony with the land rather than attempting to conquer it. Yet across the Pacific, a new power was rising, a power that viewed Alaska not as a home, but as a treasure chest. In the mid-1700s, Russian explorers under the command of Vitus Bering made contact with the region. They were not seeking a place to settle. Rather, they were in pursuit of soft gold, specifically the pelts of sea otters, which were in such high demand in China that they triggered a ruthless campaign of invasion. The arrival of the Promishleniks to be an utter catastrophe. They forced the Aleut people into slavery, bringing with them disease and violence that shattered communities which had endured for thousands of years. Yet Russia's dominion over the region was fragile. The colonial capital they established at Sitka was a risky gamble that stretched their resources beyond their limits. As the sea otter population faced the threat of extinction, this commercial enterprise began to collapse, a situation that paved the way for the most ridiculed real estate deal in history. In 1867, the United States purchased Alaska for $7.2 million, roughly 2 cents per acre. The American public reacted with outrage, such as Seward's Folly and Johnson's Polar Bear Garden. For decades, the prevailing sentiment was that the critics had been right. It was a forgotten frontier, a lawless wilderness. In 1896, all of that changed. Gold was discovered in the Klondike, and that frozen wasteland was instantly transformed into a gateway to riches. More than 100,000 prospectors flocked to the region. Sleepy outposts like Skagway turned overnight into chaotic gold towns. This get-rich-quick mentality etched Alaska into the American psyche. Yet the gold rush was nothing more than a fevered dream. The true transformation would come from a different kind of buried treasure, from the black gold that created the bizarre reality we witness today, namely, a state that literally pays you to live in a place nature never designed for high-density settlement. Quite literally, they hand out money to anyone brave enough to stay. There is no state income tax, no sales tax, and an annual check just for breathing the Alaskan air. So why is America's richest land still a ghost state? The answer isn't merely the cold. It is a fascinating economic trap. in which Alaska's greatest treasure has become the biggest obstacle to its growth. We have seen how Alaska's physical geography creates a constant struggle against the elements, and how its history has forged an identity defined by boom and bust cycles. But now we arrive at the ultimate question. Despite all its oil wealth and a government that actually pays you to live there, why does Alaska remain so sparsely populated? The answer lies at the intersection where land, history, and the modern economy collide in a paradox. In 1968, the discovery of a massive oil field at Prudhoe Bay changed everything. This was no fleeting gold rush. It was a perpetual river of wealth. To transport the oil, the 800-mile-long Trans-Alaska Pipeline was constructed, a steel artery winding across frozen tundra, 3 mountain ranges, and hundreds of rivers. With this newfound fortune, leaders established the Alaska Permanent Fund, which paved the way for the famous annual dividend check sent to nearly every man, woman, and child in the state. It sounds like a dream, yet this benefit conceals a fundamental economic trap. The influx of oil revenues created an economy dependent on a single, volatile industry. There was no urgent incentive to build a technology sector or a diversified manufacturing base. Consequently, the job market remained narrow, concentrated almost exclusively in the oil, gas, and government sectors. For the average person, the allure of the dividend check quickly slams into the wall of reality, the staggering cost of living. In Alaska, direct consequence of its unforgiving terrain and immense distance from supply routes, almost everything must be flown in. In a remote village, a gallon of milk can cost 3 to 4 times what it would in the lower 48. Dividends often do little more than help a family break even against these crushing prices. Beyond the bills, the isolation runs deep. Specialized medical care often requires flying to Anchorage, or even as far as Seattle. People rarely move here to establish a multi-generational life. They come for a high-paying short-term job and then they leave. This get in, get rich, get out mentality is a modern echo of the Klondike era. Ultimately, Alaska demands far more of its residents than any other place in the country. It necessitates self-sufficiency and a deep tolerance for solitude. Today, Alaska is home to approximately 740,000 people. Surprisingly, it is not the least populated state. That title belongs to Wyoming, followed by Vermont. Yet for such a vast and resource-rich landmass, the emptiness it holds remains a living testament to a geography that, quite literally, refuses to be tamed. I hope you enjoyed this in-depth journey into the last frontier. If you liked this video, be sure to check out our feature on Michigan's Upper Peninsula as well. Thanks for watching GeoAtlas. We'll see you on the next expedition.